Hi guys, Dr. Choppy Somji here, sports osteopath. Welcome to part 2 of our Fusion Wellness series program. Last week we covered the hips. Today we'll be covering the spine. So these are my three favorite exercises to prescribe to my patients for spine health, especially if you've been sitting for a long time or just first thing in the morning. A lot of us wake up stiff. Really good to get the blood flow going and lymphatics going. So before you start, I'm just going to walk you through a bit of the spine. So generally speaking, the spine has 3 movements. The first movement is a forward and back movement. The second movement is a side-to-side movement. And the third one is a rotation movement. So I've picked these 3 exercises to support those 3 motions of the spine. And they all coordinate with your breath and breathing. So a lot of lower back tension and upper back tension comes from the coordination between breathing and movements of the spine. All right, so the first one is your flexion extension, and this is something we see even with babies and even babies in the womb. So really easy. We're going to take the hands, have the palms facing up, and we're going to roll hands in. We're going to tuck the pelvis up. Looks really silly, but this is why you're training at home. And then on the other way around, we're going to extend the arms, rotate the shoulders back, drop the pelvis forward. Okay, so this is the motion. So I want you to practice this for about 30 seconds. Good. You just pick the tempo you like. You can go fast, you can go slow, whatever feels comfortable for you, depending how stiff you are really, how big your day has been, or your night. All right, so the next 30 seconds, what we want is to coordinate the breath. So as we come in, we're going to exhale. And as we come up, we're going to inhale. We're trying to breathe into the diaphragm, which we're going to cover in the next series. So inhale, and then exhale. So another 30 seconds here. Now, as mentioned, I like to prescribe time intervals so that you can get lost in the coordination of your breathing and moving. Start getting in touch with your body. Now, I find this also extremely helpful for posture, especially stretching out all the muscles in the back of the shoulder blade. Good. All right, so that's number 1. So that's your what we call flexion extension, forward and back motion of the spine. Your second motion has to do with rotation. Now, we're going to be in the middle of the mat, so make sure you have some room. We're going to be starting off with what's called a step back lunge. You're going to step back into lunge position. Now, with the hands, just imagine you're holding a giant balloon or a giant physio ball, and that physio ball is going to come around. So as mentioned, we've got side to side and rotation. Now this is a fantastic movement series because it captures both your side bending and rotation. Good. Now you can keep the same side. You can go into a lunge and then a rotation, lunge into rotation. You can hold your lunge as an option, or you can alternate. Okay. I like the alternating movements, so I'm going to demo that. Good. All right, so again, we're going for a minute, and in 30 seconds, we're going to talk about breath. So with these exercises, we're not looking for a strong edge. We're just looking to mobilize the spine very gently. The biggest emphasis is on your breath and breathing. So as I come across, I want to inhale. Through the transition, I'm exhaling. And then again, as I reach across, inhale. Through the transition, inhale. Exhale through the transition, inhale on the reach. Exhale through the transition, inhale through the reach. Good. We've got another 10 seconds. And if you're doing this correctly, we should really start feeling a lot of stretching through the sides of your hips and your torso. Should starting to have a bit of a sweat going, which is what we want. We want to get that lymphatic moving and starting to loosen up the spine. Good, we'll go for 2 more here. And 1. Great. So that was the second spinal mobility movement. Now the last one, something I like to do a lot because it really helps loosen up the spine, but also keeping a strong core. So you get down onto all fours. Preferably if you have a mat so that we can get a bit of the glide. Okay, so from this position, we're going to rotate the hips out to the side, so it's not a big rotation. And we're going to sit back into that hip and then back up. So it's a dynamic motion where you're swiveling the hips, pointing the knees across the body, and sitting back. Now with my hands, I'm driving my hands into the ground to keep that contact into the ground. Good, so we're going to go for 30 seconds. And now we're going to pattern in the breathing. So as you come in, we want to inhale. And then back up, exhaling through the transition, and then inhale. Exhaling through the transition, inhaling. All right, let's go for another 30 seconds here. Looks good. It's a really good remedy for tight lower back. Something you can do at home very safely. All right, let's go for 2 more here. Great. All right, guys, so those are the 3 movements for the spine. We had flexion extension, rotation, and side bend. And lastly, we had rotation from the hip. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully those exercises are helpful and will allow you to be more productive through your day. And we'll see you on the next series of part.